So everyone says that George Washington didn't join Freemasonry to pay the bills and go home, and they're absolutely right. So let's talk about ways that you can increase your Masonic education in your lodge. So let's knock three times and let's get started. Hey guys, it's Z back with another episode of Observant Freemasonry, and today I want to talk to you about really quickly about increasing Masonic education in your lodge. Now, when I first joined Freemasonry, we didn't really have much Masonic education in the lodge meeting. And then through me and a couple of other people, we started kind of finding articles and stuff like that through the interwebs, and began reading them during the lodge meeting, and that was great. And then we took the next step where it wasn't just sporadically once every 2 or 3 months that we were doing that, but then it started becoming like every week we were reading these new articles that came out, and that was awesome. And then we kind of took the next step where I and a couple of other people started presenting our own papers and our own Masonic education based off of our research and our beliefs. And that was great. And like before, it started like once every 2 months or so, we'd have this brand new original idea, or at least to us anyway. And then we would go back to reading the other papers we found on the interwebs. And then it became more, hey, guys are giving more and more of their own presentations about the research that they're doing, which was awesome. And so then the prefabricated, I guess, lectures were kind of pushed away a little bit more, and they became much more infrequent, which was awesome. And then, finally it got to the point where, everyone is expected in my lodge to give presentations. And we were able to get a couple of the entered apprentices and fellow crafts to give presentations in lodge based off of what they know, which was super awesome for us to be able to do. And that became a huge thing. I'm very proud of my lodge for doing such. And then recently, and this was absolutely amazing, a couple of brothers came up to me after us all giving our presentations and doing our own research and things like that. And they said, hey, Z, this is the thing. We love the presentations. We think they're great. But, we've been walking together and we've been having these conversations about kind of like what Masonry means to us and things like that. And we'd really like to take that idea and hold a discussion during lodge meeting about what that is. And how do you feel about that? And I was like, go for it. So within the past like 3 or 4 months, we had that first meeting where the idea for that Masonic education was not necessarily education, but more of a discussion. And the two brothers started out together, and they started sharing back and forth why they joined Freemasonry and what it means to them. And then they opened up the floor for everybody else to talk. And by the end of that meeting, just so many of the brothers were like, that's exactly why I joined Freemasonry. And I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to do that. And so from there, I was like, guys, that's the winning combo right now, is to do things along those lines. Now, most recently, I actually read a paper about the rough ashlar and protecting the West Gate and things along those lines. And so at the end of it, after I was done reading, I simply just stood there and said, okay, guys, you've just heard that paper. Now let's discuss it. What does it actually mean? And it was an incredibly, what we termed as a lively conversation in our lodge minutes, where it could have gone a little bit differently than what it did. And one of the brothers that we have, who hadn't been there for a little bit of time, was sitting there, and I was talking to him a little bit later. He goes, wow, that conversation, that really could have gone off the rails. And I said, but here's the beautiful thing, is that it didn't. And I didn't even have to really worry about it, because we are brothers and we're in a lodge and we're having a discussion, and we are free to disagree. And we are free to not necessarily believe in that other opinion, but we are not free of treating that other brother in a different manner just because our opinions are different. And so while the discussion was lively, it was still very respectful, and each side of the conversation was able to express their views. And it was a very important conversation to have, not necessarily just because of the topic of protecting the West Gate and what does that mean, and when can we let brothers in, when can we let candidates in, and is a rough ashlar always ready to be made into a perfect ashlar, and that kind of conversation. But because it allowed for my guys to express their opinions in a manner where we were able to keep it fraternal and have conversations among others where we're able to have a dissenting opinion and still remain brothers at the end and shake hands. And that is really one of the things in, I think, society today at large, and this may be my own personal belief, where we don't really get that time to be able to disagree with someone else and shake hands and walk out and still go downstairs and have a beer together. And it's something that needs to be practiced. And being able to hear someone else's viewpoint and to really sit back and think, I understand your viewpoint and I understand why you're saying that. I just don't necessarily agree with it. And the safety of the lodge should be that spot where we can practice that, and then we can go out and then we can take it to the rest of the world. So it was a very great discussion. Now, here's how I recommend you guys doing that. I started out with a very simple paper about, taking the rough ashlar and making it the perfect ashlar, and, opened it up and said, all right, now let's discuss. And the amount of time that has to elapse before you say, okay, there's no one else is willing to talk, is going to seem incredibly long. And a lot of people don't like that feeling because they go, well, no one's talking, so I'm just going to close up lodge. No. Guys, if you're in the East and you're running that meeting or you're the one that's giving that presentation, there's a thing called extended wait time. And as you can see, I'm a teacher, and if you don't know this idea, it's waiting as long as humanly possible and then even longer. So when you say, all right, guys, I'm going to express my opinion. My opinion is that not every rough ashlar is ready to become a perfect ashlar, because even if we break off the corners of those rough stones, we need to definitely take a deeper, closer look at what's actually happening on the inside of the stone. Because if there's a crack or something along those lines, then even if you square it up on the outside, it's still not going to bear any weight. Discuss. I know some of you have an opinion. Oh, brother senior warden, what are your thoughts on that? And that's really how it is. It feels like it's forever, but it really isn't. It's only probably about 15, 20 seconds at best. But we don't like to have that 15 to 20-second sense of dead air. And we like, okay, well, if no one's willing, no. It's okay. Sit back and relax. Let them have that ability to express their opinion. And if it's the first time that you guys are doing this and you've never had that type of discussion before in your lodge, it's going to feel super long. People are going to feel super uncomfortable about whether or not they can express their opinions. And it's the job of the leadership of the lodge to maybe go ahead and step forward and start expressing your opinions and taking that step so that everyone else can see that, like, yeah, it's okay that we can have dissenting opinions and we can have it in a friendly manner and we can have that discussion. And then when your brothers see that it really is okay and that, that they're in this area where we can do that, then they'll feel more comfortable in expressing that. And I did that at this last one. And I had one of the entered apprentices, and I think that it was like maybe his third meeting. And he stood up and he's like, well, I believe this. And I was so incredibly happy that my entered apprentice felt comfortable enough in our lodge, only after 3 meetings, to express his opinion and, look at that entire lodge room and say, hey, this is what I believe. That's really what we all come for Freemasonry. It's not about reading the paper. It's about taking that information and then forming your own ideas and then being able to engage in discourse with others and sharing those views. So if you guys have never tried to have a discussion in your lodge during that Masonic education time, go ahead and try it. Find a very simple paper if you don't want to create your own, and give it a shot. Or do what my guys did, and they did a wonderful job of it. They said, this is what Freemasonry means to me. And someone stood up and said, this is what it means to me. And they looked over and go, okay, now what does Freemasonry mean to you? And then it did take some time, but other people stood up and they felt more comfortable. Maybe even a guided question like, hey, brother junior warden, what does Freemasonry mean to you? And kind of like put them on the spot, but give them a question that they can answer very honestly without there being a whole lot of dissenting opinions. Because, we can discuss about the rough ashlar versus the perfect ashlar and have these dissenting opinions. But when you just simply say, hey, what does Freemasonry mean to you? There's no wrong answer. So the only thing you have to do is get them to actually stand up, believe in themselves, believe that the lodge is going to hear them and give them the due credit that they deserve. And then you got a lively discussion that you get to enter into your minutes and hopefully start really doing more than just paying the bills. So until next time, stay fervent.